I love that little intro. Hello, everyone. This is Trisha Rivers from Great Plains Action Society. I am joined here with Alejandra. I just want to quickly introduce myself for those that don't know who I am. I am the Siouxland Project Director for Great Plains Action Society. We're an Indigenous led nonprofit organization. Our office is located in Sioux City, Iowa, and we do a lot of great things here in the Siouxland area. A lot of our work is focused on civic engagement, mutual aid, healing justice. We have a lot of good things happening. We have our grand reopening on Sunday, and it is 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. I think we have posted about it, so I definitely would love to meet more folks in the community. And this is just a time where you guys can come in and see what we've been up to, really honestly. Um, I'm enrolled with the Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska. I live here in Sioux City, and I have lived here since 2019. And I wear various hats throughout the community. And I advocate for a lot of different issues within the Indigenous community, climate being one of them. Before we get into the meat of this live stream, I want to introduce Alejandra. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Alejandra. I have lived in Sioux City my whole life. I mean, there's a few years I left. Went to school, and then I moved to Wisconsin, and now I'm back. I am enrolled in the tribe of Omaha. Sorry, I said that weird.
No, it's all good. I always feel like that too when I'm on live stream. So it's been a while since we actually have done a live stream. So we're practicing. I think this is Alejandra's first live stream too as well.
It is.
So it's all good. So Alejandra, we have actually had conversations around climate, the climate crisis, and just all things environmental. What is it that you're so passionate about when it comes to climate?
It's a lot of everything, a little bit of everything, sorry. Because like they all intertwine with each other, and they all like impact us and our future. Like our future is like, if we want to continue having something, it's just something that we have to like look at and take care of.
Absolutely. So before we get into it, I do want to talk about some events or just resources that we've been working on. We've been all working very hard on this. And so we have some resources. I am so excited for some of our GPOS team members to talk about the FracTracker. And this is all of the CO2 pipelines and just basically kind of mapping them out. But in that FracTracker, you can actually look at different communities and who's along that route. So we'll definitely have somebody talk about that later. We have a River Rights Caravan that's starting on November 10th, and that is going to go through the 17th. There's different locations. We are going all over. And we're talking about basically the river, Missouri and the Mississippi. We've done work like that before. So Sakalis is actually going to talk about that a little bit later. So our live stream is part of this mini campaign, if you will. I think it started with me and Alejandra. Well, not just me and Alejandra talking about it, because we've done this work for quite some time. So Alejandra wanted to write about it, and so she wrote this blog alongside with Nicole Rains, who is our land defense director or organizer, excuse me. And so this is kind of what prompted, this. We need to have this conversation, and it needs to be known what is going on. And so, and then we have the environmental survey in the Great Plains. So we highly encourage folks to really fill that out. So I'm gonna just switch gears here as we start off with the conversation. So I don't know if you heard, Alejandra, but there's some news today that the Iowa DNR was notified of wastewater discharging, and it made its way to the Missouri River. I just seen an article right before we got onto the live stream initially it was 2 million gallons of wastewater into the Missouri, and now it's 500,000. So they did find that it was a faulty computer. And I just, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I told you before, I'm like, I don't know if I really trust technology to continue like doing this work for us, because it's something so small like this that can make a huge impact on
Yes.
a community.
Absolutely. Yes. So it is really scary to think about as far as like a faulty computer being responsible for 2 million, possibly 2 million. I don't, I go back and forth when it comes to those things of how it became a 2 million to a 500,000, even though it's a 500,000, and there's saying that it's going to be treated if it did hit the Missouri. It's just it's a lot of waste in general, and I think that's the biggest thing is our waterways are already suffering as is, and all kinds of bacteria and pollutants in it. So but yeah, so I want to kind of touch on this technology, or like, I mean, yeah, it's 500,000. You did mention something about what would happen in the event that the power grid would go down.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I don't know why. I have like a doomsday mind.
Yeah.
So I think about these things of like, what would happen? Does all our water like end up being contaminated? What happens to the gas lines? What happens to all these other things? Like what happens to our environment as a whole once these power grids like go down?
Yes, 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 yes. So, this isn't the first time either. So on the screen, and please, if you're tuning in and viewing this, please feel free to leave comments or any questions that you have. We're not experts by any mean, but we're very well knowledgeable on, just knowing that there's these very big, serious things that are happening when it comes to the climate, and I don't think that it doesn't take necessarily a scientist, I wouldn't say. I feel like, that is a lot of waste going into the Missouri River or the waterways, and that definitely has impacts. I don't think that, I feel like that's common sense, but, yes, this isn't the first time that this has happened. This has actually been happening. And so back in 2023, Mid American proposed to release their coal ash water into the Missouri River, which has Mid American states that, that by releasing that, they are actually following federal and state regulations. But again, like I said, it just doesn't sound right in the sense of like, there is a lot of waste, there's a lot of pollutants, there's a lot of toxins within that waste water. So what is that actually doing to our waterways, and what is that really creating? So and again, just kind of talking about it more, this happened in Council Bluffs too as well. So I mean, these things all add up. These little spills and here and there, and like trying to minimize the actual impact that these spills have. It can be devastating over time. So like if we like already within this past 2 years, I think 5 years, or no, what was it? Okay, my bad. Alejandro was just telling me of the time. So, but there's a lot of spills, and this creates just over time. There is a lot of spills in this area. So that's what I'm trying to say. So then we have a lot of weather that has been crazy, especially within this past year. We basically have seen this record-breaking flood in the Big Sioux River. That was, crazy because the bridge had basically collapsed, and a lot of folks were worried that it would break and then go into, as you can see, it's pictured on the live stream, that it would go into the other bridge, and then what kind of implications would that mean? So it was a really scary time. And then we also have tornadoes. So I think within the past year, this year, there have been confirmed 122 tornadoes, and that is a state record according to the National Weather Service in Des Moines. And a lot of them are becoming powerful. Minden was basically flattened, and then in a short amount of time. There was a derecho, and this was all within the past few years. So it's very crazy to think about that this is actually our reality. So, did you want to expand on any of that,
Yeah.
Alejandra?
So I actually found a publication that said that flooding is actually supposed to increase in Sioux City. It's actually supposed to become more frequent. Um, and it says like it's due to the increasing intensity of rainfall events associated with climate change.
So, when you think about it, though, you also have to think about like why is this all happening? Why are we experiencing some of these catastrophic events, so to speak? So I'm gonna bring us back on here. So when I think about it, I think about the big egg and how it's pretty much, using pesticides and, our soil erosion. All of these things are factoring into that. It gets into our waterways and basically, just even thinking about the recent like McDonald's outbreak. I don't know if you guys heard about that. I think everybody kind of has at this point, but it makes sense because we talk about big egg and it's one of the big contributors to our own demise, if you will, but it is our big money maker. However, at what price though, so having livestock in close quarters, and it doesn't surprise me that E. coli happened to be in a McDonald's beef hamburger, or whatever it is. I don't even know if it's hamburger anymore. Like I don't know. That's up for debate, but it does make sense that there is E. coli because it's already seeping into our waterways. Again, if the livestock is indeed in close quarters with each other, a lot of things can happen. So I just want to touch on that before we bring Nicole on. We also have just worth mentioning that a lot of the waterways, a lot of our CAFOs are not necessarily regulating. There's the Clean Water Act pollution permits, and I think there's about, I think in Iowa, there's more than 4,000 CAFOs that operate without those. And so, like I said, it kind of poses the question of like, big egg, coal plants, we have CO2 pipelines. When is enough of this greed, and when is it's kind of, I don't know, like I don't know, especially in present time. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of emphasis on returning back to traditional ways, ecological knowledge that our ancestors have utilized for, gosh, time immemorial. I would say. I hate to say that. I would say it like that, but it's real cheesy. But it does. I mean, I don't think we've ever really experienced this kind of devastation and like the change in the weather and all of these things like that. So, but I'm going to introduce Nicole here, and Nicole Rains is our land defense organizer. And so, Nicole, if I can bring you on, and I'll have you introduce yourself, and then we can go from there. So, if you want to turn your camera on, and we can bring you on stage. There we go. Hi, Nicole. Do you want to introduce yourself, and then we will remove ourselves from the live stream?
Yeah, of course. My name is Nicole Rains. I am an enrolled member of the Ogallala Lakota tribe of Pine Ridge, South Dakota. I have a bachelor's of science from Iowa State University, as well as a decade working with the Bureau of Land Management and the Department of Interior doing environmental work. and have been so excited to be a part of the Great Plains Action Society team as their land defense organizer. That's me. I live in Omaha. I'm originally from Des Moines. So this area is where my people are from. All right, should I just launch into it? Okay, so thank you for that segue. I know that we talked about the Sioux City lift station failure that was originally 2 million gallons and may actually only be 750 gallons of untreated wastewater being released into the Missouri River. Unfortunately, that doesn't just stay in Sioux City. That goes downriver. That hits the Winnebago tribe. That hits the Omaha tribe. That hits the Ponca tribes of Iowa and Nebraska, as well as the Omaha and Council Bluffs general area. Right now, there is 100 miles of river, I believe, that are under warning, not to be used, not to be fished in, not to recreate in. At this very moment, 100 miles of river are unusable. That to me is insane. And you know what? It's just another Thursday. It seems like every day around here we wake up to another climate event. Being from Omaha, we did have basically a derecho that knocked out power for about a week in half of the town and took out so much of the trees, disabled a lot of the city, and these storms just keep happening more and more frequently. So yeah, other events that have happened related to spills include in western Iowa, there was a liquid nitrogen spill near Red Oak in Montgomery County. The Nishnabotna River killed nearly all of the fish. That's 750,000 fish. That is nearly 1 million fish in an almost 50-mile stretch of the East Nishnabotna River to the Missouri border. So imagine what that's doing to the humans who inevitably come into contact with that water, either through recreation, through drinking, condensation, or groundwater and plant contamination. According to the National Institute of Health and the President's Cancer Panel, groundwater is used for drinking water by 90% of the rural population in the U.S., and many rural residents have private wells, which are not regulated by the EPA. Public water utilities are required to maintain nitrate levels below a maximum containment level of 10 milligrams per liter to protect against methemoglobinemia, also known as blue baby syndrome. And in addition to blue baby syndrome, exposure to nitrogen can also cause various cancers, adverse reproductive outcomes, especially neural tube defects, diabetes, and thyroid conditions. Excuse me. A lot of science words there. Despite suggestions of other adverse health effects and increases in environmental exposure levels over the past 50 years, there has been no comprehensive research to evaluate the health effects due to nitrate ingestion. So really, we don't exactly know how bad that one spill is. This may explain why Iowa has the second highest cancer rate incidence, that's new cancers, in the U.S. The Iowa's overall cancer incidence rate is rising while the U.S. rate is falling. Only 6 states have rising incidence rates, and Iowa's is growing the fastest. Wonder why. Not only do these spills, especially the ones in Sioux City in the Missouri River, but also the Nishnabotna, all the rivers flow to each other, if you have not noticed. They contribute to the annual dead zones in the Gulf of Mexico and other anaerobic algal sacrifice zones in southern U.S., which is almost always recovering from a climate disaster as climate change ramps up due to endless capitalist greed and oligarchical control. Another issue that the Siouxland faces is the coal plants. Berkshire Hathaway / Mid-American owns the majority of the coal plants out here, and they are notorious for coal ash ponds. If you are not familiar, a coal ash pond is a large toxic waste disposal site for coal ash, which is a hazardous byproduct of burning coal for energy. It contains heavy metals and other pollutants like arsenic, mercury, lead, cadmium, selenium, and chromium. These are obviously toxic to humans and animals. These ponds are often unlined or uncapped, which means the chemicals in this ash leach into our groundwater and our surface waters. This contaminates drinking waters and causes health problems like cancer, heart, and thyroid disease, and reproductive failure. I know that I've heard in Sioux City, when I was talking to a city council group there, community members were telling me about how the city would use the coal ash to fill in potholes and holes in the sidewalk before there was any sort of regulation. Any regulation on coal ash ponds just started in the past 10 years. So who knows what detrimental effects that causes and are even being investigated. In Omaha, there's a coal plant. It is not owned by Berkshire Hathaway, and forgive me, I do not remember who owns it, but it is in North Omaha, which is a historically Black neighborhood. And the University of California, Berkeley, has rated Omaha as a highly segregated city. The NAACP deems Omaha the 16th most environmentally unjust city in the country. A prime example of environmental racism is the North Omaha coal power plant that provides a number of health effects to a neighborhood of color. The health effects include an asthma rate of 20%, almost 3 times the average in Nebraska. According to Toll from Coal, the North Omaha coal plant has caused an average of 18 deaths, 11 heart attacks, and 120 asthma attacks that required hospitalization per year. That's 18 people dying per year. Not only do these residents face inequity with regard to the quality of air they're breathing, but emergency visits cost money, and it puts undue financial burden on already disenfranchised North Omaha families. This power plant in particular has promised to stop coal in 2023 and is pushed back to 2026 with no just, clear, equitable transition in sight. And OPPD, who may own the plant, dumps a majority of the coal ash from the power plant in the Missouri River and is not penalized for polluting the water. This is due to their outdated permit. Coal ash has been contaminating Omaha's drinking water for decades. This is because of the water treatment plant is blocks away from where the ash is dumped into the river. Poor water quality is exacerbating the negative health impact that the North Omaha coal plant has on North Omaha residents. In addition, both North and South Omaha, which are home to historically Black, historically Latino, and historically Native American communities, are also subject to lead in Omaha. There's only been one city council meeting addressing the amount of lead in Omaha, in the eastern part of Omaha, where the lower income, where the BIPOC people live. They have the worst lead levels and need the most abatement. The only abatement done was for a previous lead setting. They've recently lowered it from 400 parts per million to 200 parts per million. Anything above that can enter your system by simply disturbing the soil as well as ingesting it. I don't know if you guys know this, but North Omaha used to burn streetcars and other old metals. There was just a factory that did it downtown. And I was in a webinar where a person who remembered the 50s said that they remember lead raining from the sky. So probably not great for you. In addition, we have the Walter Scott Jr. plant in Council Bluffs, which has 3 coal ash sites that cover almost 400 acres and cause 286 asthma attacks annually, as well as elevated levels of arsenic. Bellevue, Nebraska has an ethanol refinery and CO2 plant and is part of the historically Latino part of Omaha. And again, I know this was touched upon earlier, but Mid-American is trying to dump 3 million gallons of coal ash leachate into the Missouri River directly and saying that it's below regulations. This obviously has negative repercussions for not just the people of Omaha, not just the people of Council Bluffs or Sioux City, but the people down the river from us as well. In addition, we have CO2 pipelines. So November is approaching an anniversary of a lot of really unhinged behavior by police and the government on DAPL attacks on natives. Members of our own team were on the front lines of the DAPL protests in 2016. Pregnant women were assaulted. On November 24th, police say protesters set fires in the area and threw rocks at officers, but an activist said that projectiles fired from the police side started the fires and that demonstrators who call themselves water protectors were just trying to extinguish the flames. Police used tear gas and sprayed water to control the crowd while the temperature dropped below freezing, and protesters had to worry about hypothermia and injuries sustained. This event showed us that we needed GPOS to exist and be a voice for indigenous folk to act as water protectors and defenders of the earth. We have pipelines that are going above the Winnebago Reservation, creating a sacrifice zone. There is a graphic, I believe, if Tricia is able to pull it up, that outlines the sacrifice zone. And It's got a map. It's green. Sikawas made it. Well, while she finds that, there are no pipelines in Council Bluffs or Omaha yet, but the large ethanol refineries that do exist there will be a part of Summit's plan to connect eventually. So maybe we'll skip the sacrifice zone map. I know that Sikawas has a great FracTracker map that we've created that will show the sacrifice zone a lot better than this will. Go ahead and pull that last graphic up, if you don't mind, Tricia. So there are two pipelines that currently cross the Dakotas, Iowa, and Illinois. One is the Summit and one is the Navigator. The Navigator was defeated by the people of Illinois, but Summit is in talks to buy it out and is currently fighting lawsuits and bills in many Midwest and Great Plains states, including just having a bill, SD 21, in South Dakota, which would have taken property rights away from landowners in the county and given the state the right to sell the pipeline land to Summit. This was defeated. Iowa is currently starting that battle. There is actually a federal court case happening in Omaha on November 20th. If you're interested in going, it is at the Roman L. Haruska Federal Courthouse. That's 111 South 18th Plaza, Omaha, Nebraska. If you want information about that, you can reach out to me on my Facebook or email Nicole@greatplainsaction.org. Yeah, so that are the issues facing Council Bluffs in Omaha and Siouxland. And with that, I'll send it back.
I'm sorry, I'm having a cough. So I think you guys can still hear me, but I'm going to put up the map that Nicole was just talking about in regards to the CO2 pipelines. Again, there is a FracTracker that will display all of those pipelines. And so, excuse me, you can bring that up and I will put the link here so that way you guys can access that. But it has all of the CO2 pipelines and you can look it up. It's very cool. It's a really nice tool. I know Sikawas has worked tremendously hard on it. So, but I just want to kind of leave this. Oh, and we're back. So we're still working through. So I just seen the comments. So, but what I wanted to say about the map was basically that was the CO2 pipelines, and they're kind of all scattered all over. And yeah, so that can cause a lot of issues. You know, in the event that there was an explosion, the CO2 pipelines themselves pose a lot of danger. So, so yeah. And I want to touch on, I know Sikawas is helping with audio pharmacy right now. So I do want to kind of, if anybody has any comments or, you know, anything else, please let us know. All right. So let's talk about, so we do have a map of the Winnebago and just kind of seeing where in Sioux City, there's a kind of like a tri-state industrial area. And then there's, you know, we have this corridor. And so basically like Winnebago and the Omaha Nation are kind of in between. And then you have Omaha, Nebraska, Council Bluffs area. and it's basically like we're sandwiched. Those nations are sandwiched into the middle, and so what kind of implications does that mean for those tribal reservations when it comes to all of these factors when it comes to the environment? So again, I want to go back to and talk quickly about because I totally forgot to mention that we did get to help somebody in our community that had, flooding in their home. And so I just want to touch briefly on it because I think that like having legal or not legal, but legislators that are going to be representative of your communities and being able to actually advocate and really stick up for your communities in the event when these catastrophic events do happen in your communities is very key. I don't like the environmental survey that I have put together. So far, the responses are that a lot of the legislators are not really being equitable when it comes to climate solutions and what does that mean. So yes, so I just want to show this picture real quick. Hopefully we can kind of navigate through our graphics and our audio. So I apologize. We haven't done a live stream in a long time. So so I'm going to bring up Sakawis here. Is Sakawis ready? Hopefully she's ready. So Sakawis, I'm going to bring you on to the live stream. I'm kind of experiencing some things with the graphics, so I apologize to everybody that is tuning in. Hopefully we can get those graphics up so you guys can really see just what we're trying to talk about. So I'm going to introduce Sakawis, and then Sakawis, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes. I'm sorry I'm a few minutes late. Of course, technical difficulties, right?
Yeah, I know, right? It's been a while since we did one of these. So yeah, so go ahead. I'm going to try to work on, Zoom, like the Zoom world and like the live stream. It's hard to navigate sometimes. So I do apologize. But just so you know, if I think I have made the option of if you can turn your camera off, your audio should still be on. So that way I can put the graphics up. So hopefully that's what happens.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I don't got a lot of time. So let me start. Okay. My name is Sakawis Nobis, and I am, sorry, I'm trying to make this work. I'm the executive director of Great Plains Action Society. And I'm also the land defense director. Land defense has been my passion since, that's actually what the organization was founded upon, land defense work. And of course, as an Indigenous led organization, we understand that it's not just about environment and climate. All of that is very much linked to colonial capitalism, which is linked to social justice issues, which are one of the same, right? So that's what our organization does. And I'm actually here, and I'm actually at home tonight. I'm at a restaurant in Iowa City, the Black Angel, welcoming a band, Audio Pharmacy, that's going to be here for Truthsgiving, playing tomorrow at the Englert Theater. And so we'll get to talk to them in a couple minutes as well about their thoughts on environmental justice. But in terms of what's happening in Sioux City, things are pretty severe. I don't know if you've mentioned the Tyson leak yet, or that I wouldn't even call it a leak, it's a dump, the Tyson dump of toxic waste. Have you had a chance to mention that, Trish?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I wish I had the link on me, but maybe you can look it up. If you type in Tyson meatpacking toxic waste map, you'll probably get some links that'll come up that you can take a look at what happened between 2018 and 2022. They dumped over 100 million pounds of toxic waste from their meatpacking plants into the water. Sioux City is where the worst of it happened. there was 60 million pounds of toxic waste dumped into the water over that 4-year period. And that's the largest dump site actually in all of the nation. There was also dumps in Omaha of about 17 million, and then I guess near Lincoln as well, or not Lincoln, sorry, a county south of Omaha. And then there's places in other parts of the country as well. And so like that plant is also very much linked to social injustices, basically mistreatment of migrant workers, especially during COVID. Actually, we organized around that during COVID, Trish and I, to bring attention to the fact that COVID workers were dying at higher rate. Sorry, COVID. Meatpacking plant workers were dying at higher rates because of COVID. Then in Iowa City, there's also these CO2 pipeline, or sorry, Sioux City, there's these CO2 pipelines that are a huge issue. But I believe that Nicole probably talked about that. But I want to just note that they're going through like a zone that's already considered a sacrifice zone, south of Sioux City, but also part of South Sioux City, where Tyson starts, and all the way down to the tip of the Omaha reservation with the coal plants. That whole area is a sacrifice zone, and there's so much toxic waste that is being dumped into the water and going directly into the Omaha and Winnebago reservations, eventually down to Omaha and down to the Gulf of Mexico, honestly. And then all of that stuff is also affecting Sioux City because of all the stuff going into the air. And so we're doing things such as a water rights caravan. We have a water rights caravan coming up here starting on Sunday. We'll be traveling to Sioux City. It'll be 11 femme folks, women, girls, and we will be traveling through Sioux City, Winnebago Nation, Omaha, Iowa Nation, Kansas City, St. Louis, and Davenport, like down the Missouri, where it meets at the confluence of the Mississippi, then up north, where we will end with a big celebration of community and like love and respect for the water. And basically, we'll just be talking about the issues that people are facing and about rights of nature and how you can use rights of nature to fight for the water. Rights of nature is basically just the idea that all of our nature relatives have rights just like we do as human beings. So, the Missouri River, the Mississippi River, they're not doing well right now. They're really sick, and we need to protect them and make them healthy. And by doing so, we protect ourselves as well. I believe there was something else you might have wanted me to talk about, Trish.
I think if you can talk about the FracTracker, I think that would be really great. Yep. I
Sorry.
just wanted to hear.
I thought that Nicole had gotten that. Okay.
No, you're all good.
Okay. So we've been fighting these pipelines, these CO2 pipelines now for 3 years. And Nicole did talk about the pipelines, all right? Like, just cover that part.
What was that again? Sorry.
Oh, Nicole did cover the pipelines, right?
Yes, she did.
Okay,
yep.
Cool. Okay, so I don't got to go into any.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we've been fighting these pipelines for about 3 years. Over a year ago, I got really fed up. I got tired of working with folks that are just basically uplifting white supremacy, basically only working with white landowners to fight these pipelines when all sorts of people are in the path of these pipelines and they deserve to be talked to. And so I talked with FracTracker, who's an amazing organization. And I said, hey, can we make a GIS map that plots, all the areas where there are BIPOC communities, where there's buffalo herds, where there's jails, schools, like, an EJ map, basically, an environmental justice map. And so we worked on that for over a year. And honestly, when I say we, like, I just had conversations with the team and they did the work, FracTracker, because I'm not a GIS specialist. But they took the ideas that, I had, and then they just went with it and came back with this wonderful map, which Trish will perhaps share later. if we get that technology working. And now we have this map that can be used for folks to take a look at, their region in the Midwest, at the Summit and the Navigator, defunct Navigator, but still Summit might be buying Navigator off. So it's, kind of the same pipelines, but and you can see if there's a pipeline near you. And we are hopefully going to be coming into your areas, where there are higher concentrations of BIPOC folks to have conversations, not just BIPOC, but folks that are, renters, because just because you don't own land, just because you don't own a house, it doesn't mean that you don't matter in this conversation.
Absolutely. Did you want to bring in audio pharmacy or?
Sure. I
know
I thought it would be a little easier. It's a little loud,
Yeah.
so
So
let me just turn it around.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Let me turn my mic.
So right now, Christine is in Iowa City, and she's doing our annual Truth Giving event. So they're there with Audio Pharmacy.
Hi.
There's the lovely Audio Pharmacy that is joining our live stream. They have done our Truth Giving.
I thought it was going to be easier, but it's
some, I think, the past few years now. So getting ready for that.
I thought it was going to be easier to do talk.
No, it's all good.
The sound is not conducive.
You're all good.
All right. Cool. Well, thank you for listening to me. I'm glad I could be here.
Yes, thank you. Yes, and enjoy your meal.
Thank you.
Alrighty. So I'm already hunched over. So I think we figured out the whole graphic thing. So I apologize to folks. So I'm going to remove our camera. So if you cannot hear me, please drop it into the comments. But I do want to share some of these graphics because they are really important. So here I go. So give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. So that way I can keep talking here. Okay. So I don't see any comments or anything that says they can't hear me. So so these are the graphics that Sakowis was talking about. So there's 2 coal plants that are basically in Sergeant Bluff, and then on the other side, I think it's Salix. And so these are just north of the Winnebago Nation and the Omaha Nation. Again, this light blue area has the Sioux City tri-state area. And so a lot of folks, I mean, I feel like people kind of see it, they drive by it, but they don't really, know what's going on with that until recently, until, Mid-American was proposing to release their coal ash into the Missouri River. And so it's just, thinking about all of these industrial areas and the coal plants, and they're right above our tribal reservations here in the Siouxland. So I do want to put up a, what is it? I thought I saw a question, and I think it's a good one. So this is from Tracy. And Tracy says, are any tribes preparing to meet the new president to discuss implications on native land? And, that's a good question. But also, too, I kind of want to expand on that. Are our tribal reservation leaderships, are they having these conversations? Are they aware of these? I would certainly hope so, especially after today, knowing that there was potentially a huge wastewater discharge into the Missouri River. And what does that really imply for us and our first foods? I know a lot of tribal nations are trying to return back to their first foods. And so we have to have clean water for that. So in order to have good food and restore our nations to what they were. So again, some of the toxins and the pollutants that are in these coal ash water waste. So I just want to point out, so according to Iowa Cancer Registry, chemical exposures, so I'm just going to name this one too. So exposure to certain pesticides among farmers have been linked to prostate cancer. And this is in Iowa. So Iowa has the 4th highest incidence rate among Black males, and then the 7th highest for white males. and it is rising faster in Iowa than in many other states. So again, just kind of linking all of these different things. I know there's other factors such as like, tobacco use and things like that, but it clearly states, pesticides and farmers and putting that together, exposure to arsenic. And this is just talking about big ag. This isn't even talking about our the ash water waste problem too as well. So again, we have gone to Omaha, Nebraska. We have protested. We have made our voices heard at Berkshire Hathaway, where you have all of these folks, and it's just like a big Woodstock for the energy talk. But yeah, so our goal is to use rematriation and to return it back, return the land first and foremost back, but also to return back our first foods. And so just want to reiterate our River Rights Caravan. So pictured on the right is when we had done there was an event that was in Davenport, Iowa, in the Quad City area. And we actually had some folks, indigenous folks and BIPOC folks come up from the New Orleans area. And so this is us just all kind of having that conversation, again, talking about very similar, maybe even exact issues when it comes to the mighty Mississippi. And so, just having this, it doesn't matter what side of the state you're on in Iowa. I feel like we are contributing to a lot of these health disparities that communities downstream of us experience, and all kinds of things. So our River Rights Caravan is going to start in South Sioux, and again, they'll be going all over. So just to kind of put on the forefront here too, Truth Giving, this is Audio Pharmacy. They've also done a lot of work too. I know Roz has been putting something together as far as the Nest. They also have the Snag magazine. And so if you haven't checked it out, please do so. I don't know if I have any more comments on here, but we will kind of recap here. And hopefully, I'm so glad that you guys got to see the graphics, and sorry about the technical difficulties. So we will definitely be working on that, because we do want to do more of these live streams too as well. So let me shift here again. This is the FracTracker. So this is just kind of looking at it, but if you go and access it, again, you can zoom in. There's different communities. Maybe you're, like Sakawa said, maybe you're actually on the routes. But yes, it's a really cool tool. So please go check it out. We also have the blog that Alejandra had made, or well, not made, but wrote alongside with Nicole Rains. Again, I can't stress this enough. I think Alejandra, what was it? You said that when you were trying, because I gave you some questions, right? We had made some questions, and it was just things that were centered around the BIPOC communities, or like looking up health disparities in the Siouxland area. And what was you said you didn't find a lot of information.
No,
So expand on that a little bit.
That was so frustrating because we're a part of these communities, and I could not find a single thing on health disparities when there are health disparities. And I couldn't find like any information on how like some of the issues that we talked about, how they are impacting like the BIPOC communities and how it's affecting them. And I couldn't find anything.
Yes.
It was driving me crazy. And I was like, I mean, I could find a little bit, like very, very little, like it'll be a sentence or something like that. And I would have to dig so hard just for like this one fact.
Yeah. So this is kind of why I'm happy that we have this environmental survey. Again, this is for anybody that lives in the Great Plains area, specifically to like in Iowa, Nebraska, and South Dakota. We really want to be able to really portray what is actually going on and what is concerning to folks. Yeah, so, and I don't know, some tribes too, they practice data sovereignty, and that's absolutely fine. So did you have anything else that you
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say that how I am working on this, like translating the survey into Spanish, so that way it could reach folks who do not speak English.
Absolutely. So again, I will bring us up here now. Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you again for just sticking through this live stream. Again, sorry about the graphics, but yeah. So we just wanted to come on and really talk about the climate crisis that is going on. I think I there's just different things that are going on that we felt that it was important to come on and talk about, and hopefully leaderships from all over are talking about the environment, or like the current state of the environment, because yeah, it's not looking too good. I don't know if you guys have noticed changes within the weather and climate and just the overall landscape. I know that Sakowis talks about this in her zine, that Iowa used to be as diverse as like a rainforest, but due to big ag and just farming practices that are used now, it's more diverse as a desert. And it's really scary because again, experiencing the flood, and I was not impacted by the flood personally, but I do know folks that were, and I just can't even imagine. And then having to meet certain deadlines while piecing back your life together, I can't even imagine how that would even feel. So I do want to say thank you to everybody. I seen oh, okay, yeah. There's I seen a comment here. There is a community health needs assessment from Sioux City. So thanks, Evan, for dropping that into the chat. But yes, I hope that you guys are able to fill out the survey. Go check the blog out again. We will definitely come back. I think we are going to kick off a series of these environmental talks too as well. We are definitely looking to collaborate, connect with folks on this specific issue, especially in the Siouxland area. So with that being said, I would like to thank Alejandra for, this is your first time.
Yeah.
But we will definitely be back with more information. Again, check out Great Plains Action Society. We're on Facebook, Instagram. We also have a website, greatplainsaction.org. So please check us out, and we will see you later.